Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Drew. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
So I don't know. I don't know what our plan is today, but I want to just mention that I've got some excitement about getting this done, and we are about getting PCIe done, and I would like to share with you all a kind of a thought on how I see this working if we have time today. I don't know what you all think, and I've talked to the team internally at Google, and I'm trying to get our internal proposal delivered here, the one I showed the picture from, as soon as I can. And I'm expecting the guy that's doing it is he's out of the country right now. He's on vacation, but when he gets back mid-month, we should be ready to share the Google proposal in more detail. But anyway, I have kind of a picture, if it's okay, of what I would like to do with the PCIe stuff, if it's okay with you all. And Yogesh, I'm sorry, I do not mean to step on your toes if you have something else.
No, that's all right, Drew. I think, yeah, we should just continue with that and try to wrap it up. So sounds like a good plan to
I
me.
do want to spend just a couple of minutes. Any new person joining today? Maybe today.
Oh yeah, good call.
I know I requested, I was having an offline chat with Mitch, right? I see him here, so maybe those who are joined today, first time, introduce.
Hi, that's right. Mitch Wright. I work for Liquid, which we're a PCI Express CXL expansion chassis and fabric management company, and spent 20 some odd years working with Mark Fletcher at Hewlett Packard Compaq.
Welcome, Mitch.
Interesting topic. I saw the presentation at OCP and thought I'd start joining.
Yeah.
Hey, Mitch,
thanks.
long time no see.
Yeah.
How long have you been there, Mitch?
Since May. I was at a CXL startup before that, and been jumping around a bit since leaving HPE a couple of years ago. But after 23 years in one spot, it's kind of fun to move around a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still in Houston?
Oh yeah, I'm 10 minutes away from the new campus.
Oh, cool.
I never set foot in there though.
Yeah, me neither. I'm an ex-HPer as well. I'm an ex-coworker of Mark's. So
Okay. All right, Drew, I don't recognize your name, so sorry about that, but
no worries. I was in BCS. I was a super dumb guy.
okay. All right.
Yeah, and Drew goes back a little longer. We've worked on a lot of different stuff, you and I, Mitch, but Drew was in BCS, and that was, gosh, I'm thinking Gen 8. So it's been a while.
It was Gen 7, I think, or Gen 6. I had I think I had a Gen 6 machine at my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I started in 97, so the first system I worked on was the 8 processor Intel system.
Oh, cool. Well, welcome. We're glad you joined us, and your timing is great. We really need switch people, and we need folks that are working on trays like you. So this is great.
Yeah.
Oh, is there anyone else that's new today? Okay. I didn't see anyone, but wanted to double check. So Anil, are you okay if I kind of walk through this picture now?
Yeah, maybe one more thing. Sorry, Andrew. So I just want to call out in the OCP Global Summit. Really appreciate a lot of folks presented, worked on it. So want to reach out and thanks everyone. For the last whole year, a lot of activities, and looking forward to New Year. We have a lot of things ahead of us. So looking forward to working with all of you.
So cool. So here's a picture I've been using with my manager to explain what we're doing, but I wanted to run it by you to make sure I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth, because I did say we have strong support. But yeah, I've heard that from a bunch of you that you're really interested in this. But what I wanted to talk about is we started this best practices doc with the pain points, and so we're definitely going to end up building something there. We also I requested help and got help from Intel with these PCIe settings. I got Intel to share it, and we have the OCP PCIe error list. Sorry, that's an internal link. I'm also working with Ant Micro to build an FPGA-based test tool if I can get enough support, and I would love to see if you all are supportive. And what I'm thinking is we build this error list, then Google will make a proposal to fix AER in the Linux kernel. It looks like Meta is proposing a RAS daemon CPR collection solution, and Irwin proposed a PCIe bridge spec for data center PCIe devices. What do you all think? Does this look like it makes sense to you, or did I mean, if I got anything wrong here, I'll change it. I wanted to run this by you, but I think ultimately we want to fix Linux. We want to upstream some the new driver. We want to go to the PCIe SIG and propose clarifications for some of the things that are causing us problems.
So, Drew, a couple of things. You might want to ask Mark. I think we should have his support also, strong support.
Yeah, Mark, yeah, I don't know if you like our solution though, but Mark, we'd love to have your support if you support us working on PCIe.
Well, honestly, I'm a bit behind. I've been away for a very long time.
You used all your leftover vacation, so good for you.
Yeah, well, the problem is that I used a vacation for most of the month of December, but I was also down with COVID, so I missed a lot of meetings just because I was 8 days with a temperature of 102. So I missed a lot from that as well. But I just need to catch up, and ultimately, I'm pretty much on board with what you guys are doing. I I think you may be even more aggressive than I would be, uh, trying to get some of these errors, but I'm uh, I'm on board, and I just need to get caught back up.
Okay, sounds good, Mark. And I guess what I've been telling people, if you don't dream, your dreams can never come true. So, maybe we don't get everything we want, or maybe we just get some of it, but any improvement is something. So,
Yeah, but let me just say is, I still have, a distance to travel. You shocked me when you said you wanted to be able to do all this air injection in production. That, so that's something we've not ever done. And, you know, it's not like I'm opposed to it. It's just I've got to think about it and understand the implications, because I think
yeah,
there are implications. One implication is you have to distinguish between what's been injected and what's been detected. You've got to have a mechanism
absolutely.
for that.
Yeah, and actually, that's something that longer term, one of my dreams here is that I can mark seepers that are injections. Just say, hey, I injected an air, I got a seeper. This seeper is from that injection, and then I know to treat them accordingly. But the other thing is, in our production environment, we can say, oh, this machine is owned by the people that are doing the testing, and we can adjust the automation accordingly. Um, but I think the key there is that we ultimately need to test in the environment we're running in. So I'm not going to test in a production environment where customer workloads are running, but I will test in the data center, with the full software stack running, so that I make sure that I'm, testing what I'm actually using.
Yes, absolutely. Got it. You have to do that. So
Yeah,
yeah, like I said, I think I'm behind a bit, but I'll get caught back up, and I'm on board.
cool. Well,
Drew,
I'm eager to work with you on this, Mark. So I'm yeah, and I'm hoping for your support.
do you
This
take us back to that slide that you're sharing, Drew?
Oh, sure. I just wanted to show Mark what we've been working on with Irwin, and I've been telling everyone this is the solution to, world peace as far as PCIe is concerned. This is Irwin's work, and I practically begged Intel to share it with us because I thought it was so awesome. So let me share the tab again.
Yeah, I was about to comment on that only, right? So the way I visualize this was that yes, there is the initial brainstorming with Arvind and yourself and others, and um, I think the idea was to bring it here and share with everyone else and see if it works for them. There might be, I don't uh, feel that one setting will work for everyone. So that's the goal, right? To understand if what settings do work for what kind of deployment,
I
right?
think what will happen is we'll have a baseline set of settings that generally work for OSs. And that's what I'm seeing today is, we have UR set to drive an NMI. And so now, someone can UR the system to death pretty easily. That's terrible. We don't want to do that. So
Yeah,
I think there will be some standards. And one of
yeah,
the things that we're proposing in our AER proposal is a solution for AER where you can have a config file and you can override the standard settings for special cases, because we'll 100% need special cases. We'll have, some odd card that doesn't quite follow the spec, and we need to change something to make it work.
yeah. So definitely things of that nature could have a common setting which fixes it for everyone. But then when it comes to handling of the error, different models might need different configurations, right? So,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so,
And
so I think that is the process. The spreadsheet is, I expect that to be iterative process with brainstorming with everyone here. So we make sure that works for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't mean to ram what Irwin's doing down people's throats, but the way that he organized it, um, and it factored for things like role-based reporting, um, was just brilliant in my mind. It made some. I couldn't do it. I was struggling, and I asked for his help, and he created the sheet, and I thought it was really good. So I wanted to share at least the format, and I think the values in the table are 100% up for debate.
Sounds good.
So Drew, what is the context of this block diagram? I'm struggling.
Oh, I'm just trying to explain to my managers how I think this is going to play out. And I wanted to share what I was thinking, so to see if you agree. And if I got it wrong, I want to fix it.
When you say play out means this forum output or activities in this year is what
Yeah.
you're trying to define here?
Yeah, and really the solution, So I thought Meta was proposing RAS daemon, secret collection, or something like that, and we're going to propose a fix to the AER driver to make it so we can log better. We can log binary data instead of strings that you have to grep. We can enforce settings or update settings without a reboot. And then Irwin proposed a PCI bridge spec, and the bridge spec may take longer. I don't know what the time frame for that is. But this goes back to Irwin's comment that there was a company he was working with, and I think they did malform. They used a malformed TLP instead of a UR, and they made it so the machine needed to reset because we don't have a uniform understanding of what the different errors mean.
Right. So this is the scope is the PCI error reporting
Of which one?
the overall.
Well, I think it's not reporting. It's the settings, the reporting. It's the uh, it's the meaning of the errors. So, and when they should be signaled by devices. It's it's how do we set up the devices so that they work with virtual machines and operating systems that we support.
Maybe Drew, I'm guessing is your do you start with what are the goals in your first slide? I'm thinking like what are we trying to achieve here is not coming out clear with the picture, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
this
I
is
think where I was going was Drew. I think your block diagram I can see when it comes to the error reporting part, which is the detection, signaling, and eventually getting a log. I think it's a very good coverage here, what you're showing. The areas like a DPC flows, hot plug flows, right? Those are a lot more than just reporting, right? There's a whole driver and interaction, application stack interaction requires.
Yeah, I was imagining that goes in the bridge spec because today there is there are various interpretations of how DPC is meant to work, and it is not consistently usable. We can't just make a blanket statement that use DPC, it will turn your corrected errors and or uncorrected errors into corrected errors. But if we make some fixes to DPC, we could make its use commonplace, and we could standardize the feature enough that things that support the bridge spec can just say, oh, you support the bridge spec? We'll use DPC to handle these errors more gracefully.
Yeah, I agree. I'll maybe put a little bit different context. The spec has some ambiguities, and that's what we need to clarify. It's not that we're going to override the spec.
No, that's right. That's right. We are clarifying ambiguities. That's exactly it.
Right, and therefore results into multiple implementations, incompatible implementations, let's put it this way, between the driver and the hardware and firmware. And by providing those clarity, addressing those ambiguities, we can bridge the gap. Therefore, we can say, okay, if you meet these bridge requirement, bridge spec, then we should be able to adopt that solution in our fleet.
Yes. And really, if you like, what I think of when I think of the PCIe problems is I think, what happens is we get a machine, we get a BIOS from somewhere. The BIOS settings mostly work for us, but because whoever did them, did some testing and they knew what they were doing. But then, we start deploying this. Is the way this typically works out is we start deploying at scale. We start tossing in some new PCIe devices, and all of a sudden things blow up in our face because the new PCIe devices don't have a consistent understanding of the ambiguities in the specification. And then what happens is a hero comes in and fixes the BIOS or patches the kernel or makes some driver change to patch things up just enough for it to work. But it's disruptive to our product introductions and it's disruptive to our customers. So what we'd like to do is try to clarify those ambiguities so that we get a more predictable, more predictably good result when we start deploying new things in the data center.
So all that goes into the bridge spec, right?
Yes.
And also things like DPC and hot plug. So the bridge spec is basically a catch-all, but you do have AER fixes a separate box called out here.
Well, we need to fix the
kernel
kernel.
logging. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the OS aspect. Okay, right.
Yeah, we need to fix the Linux kernel, and Rama, I don't mean to exclude Microsoft. I don't know how to drive the micro. Yeah, if you want to do Windows, you'll have to drive that. But we can propose some code for Linux, and we'd like to work with this group to upstream a new AER driver.
So when you say that you basically again, that's a catch-all for all the fixes that you need in the kernel space. I mean, there's others like EDR flows, maybe. Hot plug. I'm not sure. I'm guessing. So
there may be others, and I don't know what the answer is there. So
right.
I'm going to put a note on the thing. There may be other OS work that we haven't quite figured it out yet.
I think that's what I was pointing out, that I think what you're describing here is primarily the AER error reporting part when it comes to the Linux part.
Yeah. That is exactly right. I agree with you, Neil.
Yeah, and same thing for RAS daemon in the reporting part only. In-band reporting, you can call that.
I guess I would call this not the AER fixes aren't strictly reporting, because it is controlling settings as well, but it is AER configuration and reporting. It's not implementing a standard DPC driver or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, configuration is required to streamline our reporting. End goal is that we should be able to get the errors precisely when error happens, right?
And we should handle errors as gracefully as possible without like floods of errors crashing the machine or errors being unnecessarily promoted. UR shouldn't normally be fatal, right? Just as an extreme example.
Right.
Okay. Well, and I'm not trying to be controversial. I just needed to explain something to executives on what we're doing, but I wanted to run it by you all to make sure I wasn't stepping, out of bounds or going over the line. And this is really an internal slide, but I can make an external version if we want to build on it. I'm, this is not secret. This is the stuff we're doing here.
For the meta block box, I wouldn't call, so CPER is a wish list for me right now. It's like phase 3 or phase 4 of my initiatives is really adopting RAS daemon for PCI error reporting.
So PCI RAS daemon for
and strictly for error reporting. I mean, configuration is given, right? We have to have the right configuration to do any kind of reporting. But once the configuration is done, like how do we get the data from the devices?
And Anil, one of the things that people inside, like the guy that's making this proposal, it would help us maybe upstream the code if we could work with you on the RAS daemon to say, you know, we want to upstream this AER driver that has a binary logging interface that, and we already have a tool, an example tool that collects this binary data, the RAS daemon.
Right. So last time when we discussed, I did send a link. So the RAS daemon changes that we have done is already upstreamed. And
Right.
mhm.
But if we change the way the AER collection works, then we need to plug that in. You know what the problem is that today we get kernel logs that are text, right? Are you going to ftrace and grabbing the binary trace events from AER? I didn't think that was possible with the current AER driver.
It is, and that's what RAS daemon does.
Okay.
And then so the
Thank you, Erwin.
yeah. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. And by the way, here's the picture I shared if this helps.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't write it like on your last slide. I wouldn't particularly say RAS daemon because then we're mixing between kernel updates and then a userland tool. And so what we really want is a structured error reporting ABI from kernel to userland.
Yes. And that is what we're proposing here. So
Yeah.
structured, I'll just call it structured error logging for now.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, basically not string text.
Yeah.
And then RAS daemon in this case is one of the possibilities of listening to the structured error logging. And right now everything's done through ftrace.
Yes. And we weren't, I'm not even saying that Google would use RAS daemon necessarily, but we would build what we're doing in concert with Meta so that it worked for RAS daemon as like an open source example. We may have a proprietary daemon, we may use RAS daemon. I have no idea what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But I was hoping to just say, here's an example, and Meta is going, Meta's using RAS daemon because that's what I thought Anil said. So, yeah, Anil, if I'm stepping on your toes, I will change this to say whatever you want.
Yeah, no, this is fine. Now it's okay because this is our starting point. My game plan is to adopt RAS daemon across not just PCI correctable errors, but also memory correctable errors, cache correctable errors, basically any kind of correctable errors in band
So
reporting.
it's your general in-band reporting strategy.
Right. And then
Okay.
eventually at some point in time, the RAS APIs, as and when that becomes mature and implementable, then we will figure out, maybe we'll converge to RAS APIs.
Sounds good.
So that's like a long-term, that's my strategy that I'm driving within Meta. And anyone else who wants to, join and run with the RAS daemon, they'll awesome. If not, that's fine too, because RAS daemon is anyway open source.
Yeah, and that's why I thought maybe if we do this together, as we're changing the AER driver in Linux, we could coordinate with you and make sure that what we're sending is caught by you, so that it works well. Yeah,
and in fact, the AER driver changes because I have not seen the changes that you're talking about, but I have already looked into. There are so many changes that I see needed as I'm implementing this RAS daemon. One of them is actually this whole OSC method negotiation, right? The bifurcation of corrected versus uncorrected error. That part is missing right now. So there are several other changes required in the AER driver that we can collaborate.
Okay, and by the way, I'm in the process of getting this document approved, like of the design inside Google, and then I'm going to share it here because this is code working upstream. It is not secret. And but here's the picture that I shared before, Neil, that you saw, and this is where we said, oh, okay, we can converge on RAS daemon.
Yeah, and by the way, the thing become muddy because when the DPC was defined, especially the firmware first model, we kind of piggyback on AER in such a sort of cryptic way that it caused quite a bit of ambiguity between AER driver and the DPC driver.
Okay.
And how does it interact? So we want to kind of think through as we are making AER driver changes, maybe streamline the DPC flows as well.
That sounds good. And what I'm going to do is invite those folks to future meetings. Like John Pandel, when he gets back, is the guy that's writing a lot of this, and maybe we can work through those things with you and get your input here and add that to this list of things we want to do and figure out how we can collaborate. And maybe we have to write that code together if
right.
You're ahead of us in that.
Right. Because right now they're sort of intertwined in a way that it just is practically not implementable. Let's put it this way. Yeah. We have done a patchwork right now, right? We got actually several patches on top of the kernel internally that we are deploying to streamline that.
Yeah. So my view on this though is AER and DPC are joined at the hip. They really cannot be separated.
Right. And that's why, we can't talk AER in isolation, especially since DPC is a feature that we are deploying and we want to continue to adopt. Therefore, we need to talk both together and make sure that the ambiguity that is in the spec, it can be addressed.
Well, and I think the other thing that would be helpful, I think Erwin and I have talked, Erwin, keep me honest here, but I think if we had some example AER drivers, I think right now it's kind of hard. Like I'm talking about device driver, right? If we have AER and that can set up DPC, but at the end of the day, the device driver needs to do some things when DPC occurs. And so I would love to think about how do we make that clearer and make it easier for people to write those drivers.
Right. I mean, the same thing happens for AER error reporting also, right? Let's say DPC is not enabled. And if the device is GPU, right, for example, then those AER events from GPU will have to come to the GPU driver. So the listening part it still exists, just purely AER itself also. That is still not very clean.
There's no callback or SIG bus equivalent in Linux today for this.
Correct. It's all proprietary device vendor specific implementation, and it gets very, very complex. We don't get the right information. We have to use custom tools then on top of the driver, right, to decode the information. It's very time consuming.
So I think, Drew, on your last one, right, the other goal you want is, to summarize what we just said, driver participation and error handling. Because right now it's the PCI Express framework calling all the shots.
Yeah.
And the driver is just asked to reset sometimes or to unload the driver, but it's not being told, hey, what happened? What is the error, and what can be done?
Actually, would that be defined in the bridge spec, Erwin?
No, the bridge spec would be more hardware, and so now we're talking about software.
So
I think, Arvind made a very good point, right? The interface between the AER kernel, Linux kernel AER handler and the device driver is what missing right now, and there's a proprietary implementation of the place.
I'm aligned with that. I just don't understand quite how to write it. How do I talk about this?
Yeah, so the SIG bus is the mechanism exists today, right? maybe we can leverage that, or just define either polling or event-driven interface between the kernel and the device driver,
Yeah.
which can be adopted by all the device vendors.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is that in the? I'm sorry, is that in the? Do we need to make that part of the AER driver, or is there a different spec? Or you see what I'm saying? What's the mechanism?
Yeah, it'll be.
It's a Linux kernel
Yeah,
thing.
it's a
So
Linux kernel thing.
there's no spec. But
And we want to make it
basically,
a spec.
yeah, it's close to what you're asking in the green box proposed to fix AER Linux kernel, right? There's no spec on how the kernel should implement things. There's also no spec on how the kernel and the device should and a device driver should interact. But that's the thing that we're trying to make a little bit more structured.
Right.
Okay. I think what we may need to do is we may end up staging it, because like what I'd like to do is show that we're putting out an immediate fire by fixing some settings and providing an interface to the logging, and then as we figure out DPC, we'll add that to it as well. I'm it's open source, so let's
Yeah.
figure out how to stage it. I'll put it here for now, but I guess I'm not pushing back. I 100% agree. I just don't understand the scope of the work enough to describe it to an executive.
Yeah, which is fine, Drew. Staging is right in Drew. So let's fix the configuration reporting part in the existing AER driver. Then let's talk about the interface between AER driver and the device driver.
Yeah, that makes okay. I think this sounds great. Okay, how are you all feeling about this? Am I okay? Have I overstepped my bounds? That if there's a company that doesn't support it, I'll take your name off. Or if there's a company that does and wants to add their name, we'll add it. But like I said, I'm trying to say, hey, we're doing something big. This is important.
I mean, I need to see the specifics. I'm fully supportive of the effort, right? But
that's all I'm claiming in this box here. Is the effort.
That's great.
Yeah. The only thing I would nit, and this is because of history, is the word RAS daemon, because and the history is that when MCE log was in place before, the code was written in such a way that it would only work with MCE log, and that's it. And so, but right now we're using ftrace, which is really the flow that we're using. RAS daemon is just the end user of it. RAS daemon is getting more and more intrusive, you could say, into the Linux kernel error handling code. And so I don't want that to accidentally hurt us in the future. Because RAS daemon, even though it's open source, there could be a competitor that comes in, and then there's going to be a conflict between the two.
Why there's a conflict? I don't see any issue. If somebody comes up with a better solution, we'll adopt that.
So there's a flag in sysfs, which is I forget what it's called, but it's a RAS server flag or something like that. That's a way to tell the kernel whether or not RAS daemon is running or not. So that's weird because it affects the way that the kernel handles errors.
That's weird, because I was looking at the kernel, and the only mention I saw of the RAS daemon in the kernel I was looking at was a comment by Tony Luck saying maybe you should use RAS daemon instead. That was all I saw.
It's part of something called the what is it, RAS CEC?
Yes, that's what I saw.
That's a different thing. That's for First of all, that
But
was
it's
actually
tied to the hip to RAS daemon because there literally is a ABI for that piece of code to know whether or not RAS daemon is running.
yeah. I think you're referring to memory corrector, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Is memory correctable error collector.
Yeah. So okay. In Meta, we have not gone to memory error reporting to RAS daemon yet. So we'll come across that also, and we'll fix that. Right
Yeah.
now, the scope is
Yeah.
PCI errors, right?
Yeah,
So from PCI errors point of view,
but Erwin's point is that now there's a tie between RAS daemon, which is a user space thing, and the kernel, and like how the kernel behaves, right? And that's a basic problem, right?
Exactly.
And I think but I agree with what you said earlier. We're proposing an ABI, and RAS daemon we'll have an example RAS daemon that calls the ABI. Is what I was thinking.
right?
Yeah,
And it's any kind of such hard dependency, right? That we need to solve. So let's call that out as a patch need to be developed, or some changes need to be done, and let's fix it.
Yeah, that's the end solution. I was just saying that when the danger of programming it to a specific end user program is that we're gonna end up making it specific to the end user program.
And that's exactly what we want to drive in the hyperscaler, right? And let's pick the best solution available today and drive standardization across that. In the future, if there's a new better solution comes in, we'll adopt that.
Well, and I think if
But
we
we
have
need something that to latch onto it, right? Otherwise, we'll again, defeat the purpose, right? We'll fragment the industry then.
but
Everybody has their own implementation.
If we have this ABI, we're okay, right? We just have we have an ABI. RAS daemon is the first user of it, but it'll support other things too.
Right. Yeah. But that's what I was saying, that there is RAS daemon specific ABIs that's affecting how the kernel behaves.
Okay, I guess we need to figure that out, but I don't know how to address it here.
So, I mean, if you can share with me more details on what you're talking about, like I'm not familiar with that, then maybe I can work with my kernel team members and see if we can write a patch. Because I do want to fix if there's a hard dependence like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I'll put it in a chat.
Yeah. And Anil, I was also telling people that you are working on an upstream RAS. You showed us the other day, but I couldn't. When I searched for it, I couldn't find it. But if we want to collaborate with you, what repo are you working in? Where are you?
Yeah, this is the hyper HPC. So HPC community has a separate tree, and it was easier for us to get approval there. So that's what we did.
What's it called?
I'll pull that link and put
in the chat. Okay. Yeah. I just want to start referring people to it so that we go look at the right stuff.
Yeah. Give me a second here. Yeah, keep going. I'll put that link.
Okay. Well, I want more feedback if there's any, but this is how I'm saying I think things will work out. I'm trying to build a schedule for the work to do the AER driver stuff. Obviously, we don't have all the requirements, so it'll be a very tentative schedule. Erwin, before you joined, I was saying I think the bridge spec may take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But so maybe we just have to sequence these things out and figure out the kind of the order of operations. And my perspective is, and I'm sorry, I used an internal link, but your spreadsheet. This is basically your spreadsheet. And I can change that link. I mean, just. I'll just say Erwin's sheet for now. But anyway, so I think that's kind of, we still need to focus on that, work through that sheet, and then we'll build this. We'll come here with a proposal in the next few weeks as soon as John gets back from vacation, and but then, the focus is figure out what we want, and then we can start building all of this tooling to deliver what we want.
Yeah. So I just pasted a link, Drew, but for some reason I've seen this problem before. It's timing out, so there may be some server issue.
Okay, this is great. No, I mean it's fine. I'll just put it in and I'll share this after.
Right, and it has the
Words.
patches that we have upstreamed.
If y'all want the slides, but I'll just paste it here for the. Oh wow, that didn't work. Okay, oops. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you, Anil. Okay, so if this is a controversial, or if you have heartache, beat me up. I want it. I'll take it because I want to get. I will do it. But this is something I use to explain to executives what we're doing. But I'll share it here, and if we need to change it or modify anything,
Hey, Drew, you're cutting out from, but I don't know if it's
I
you
don't
or me.
really care. I just want to put out the fire.
Drew, you're breaking up.
Yeah, we're breaking up pretty bad, Drew.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I thought it was me, and I just reset my headset.
Okay.
Yours hasn't changed.
Yeah. One more thing I want to just call out is that I think Leo from AMD is proposing this OSC OST interface change to bifurcate the PCIe error reporting.
I mean,
between firmware.
Yeah, more specifically, he's looking at it. Right. Yes.
Yeah. So we will. I think Vilas, maybe we can work offline and then bring it here. What we're thinking, so that we can start socializing changes.
I forget what specifically.
So Anil's the basic request was it would be nice to have OS first handling for corrected errors, or for OS first handling for corrected errors. Or hang on, is it me or Drew this time? Okay. It'd be nice. So right now, the OSC handshake, OS first versus firmware first, is global across both corrected and uncorrected errors. And Anil's request was separate that out, right? Have an independent negotiation for correctable errors and independent negotiation for uncorrectable errors. I took a quick look at it. The hardware is actually mostly separate or entirely separate, so I think it's potentially feasible. So Leo's taken a closer look at it to see if there's, how that would work.
Right, and this will result into a proposed ECN.
Yeah,
if we all agree that.
If it flies, yeah.
Yeah, in the PCI SIG for the firmware spec change, and kernel changes would also be required, and then of course the BIOS changes when it comes to implementation.
Okay.
So on that study, please think about how advisory non-fatal.
Yes, I understand. That's the one place where I'm concerned as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that advisory non-fatal decision years ago has come back and bite us.
Yeah, it's
many times.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the way it's done. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm aware that we need to think about that one in particular. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, these are the things which have been kind of sitting under the rug for a long time. Like, we've been kicking the can down the road. Let's open it up and, address it, right? So that we don't have to struggle and suffer due to those decisions that were done in the past.
And I guess you're talking. Are you talking about when it's reported as advisory non-fatal, or when?
Yeah, The problem with an advisory non-fatal is that it sets a bit in the uncorrectable status error register and in the correctable error. Right, then it gets reported as a correctable error.
Yeah, it's like a rerouting of the uncorrected error and the
Yeah.
correctable
And
error from signaling point of view.
That's
we
right.
get
And,
a race condition between two entities trying to clear the
Correct. The uncorrectable error
uncorrectable.
status register.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's potentially doable, Erwin, because a given error, because of the way the clearing works, right? It's write one to clear. So there would have to be a hard requirement on firmware and software that, hey, you know, if you own correctable and you get an advisory non-fatal, you can go clear the uncorrectable error status register, but you can only clear, you know, the bits that are negotiated as ANF, right?
Yeah. So the problem we ran into, Drew, I'll stop us at any time if we go too deep into this. The problem we ran into is that the spec isn't very clear about what's ANF-able, and the spec definitely doesn't tell you exactly which bit was associated with an ANF, and the whole thing really, really breaks apart when there are multiple errors that occur. So,
well, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's something we should talk about. At least in my view, there's a specific set of errors in the spec that are ANF if their severity is 0, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if there's ambiguity there, we should absolutely fix that, right? But to me, you know, there's whatever, 4 or 5 errors, I forget the exact number. But if the severity bit is 0 for either any of those 4 or 5 errors, that's an ANF, and those are sort of allowable to be cleared by the entity that owns the correctable error status register.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like this is the kind. I mean, there's this complexity. There's I think some other ones we're going to run into. So, you know, like this is all the stuff we need to think through as well. So yeah, we should. We'll bring it. Anil, we'll talk to you about it, and we'll probably bring it here before we go anywhere else, right? So.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense. Thank
Just
you.
a question about the ECN. Is that going to be like a code first ECN? We are also looking into one of these changes for OSC to have individual control, right? So do you already have a draft or that you're going to bring here, or?
We don't. I mean, Leo's kind of working on it right now, so he's taking a look and putting something together. So it's I mean, outside of the hardware part, right? Like the firmware and software part is very non-trivial because there's a lot of changes in the error reporting, you know, in ACPI that would need to happen for this. So that part is.
What's the advantage of doing this? You know, what's the driver?
Anil, you should talk to that.
Yeah, I mean, this is all discussion that we had. The error rate for correctable errors is typically at least 1 order of magnitude higher than uncorrected error. And we need visibility into correctable errors as much as possible. And if we use the firmware first or even BMC first kind of method, kind of bog down that whole infrastructure. So we need a method to report correctable errors in man. Especially this is you know, the hyperscaler where they own the whole stack. So it may not be directly applicable to you know, like Google or Microsoft infrastructure. So when a hyperscaler owns the whole stack, we have that degree of flexibility or freedom, and we want to have the PCI correctable errors directly propagated from hardware to the OS and our own utilities. Whereas uncorrected errors, we still want to keep it firmware first, BMC first method. So that's a driver. That's a need that we want to build. And today it doesn't allow.
Okay, I think I understand. Thanks. You know, yeah, and you know, like yeah, we do want out of band logging of all of this, and it'll be interesting to see if there's any value to the higher frequency of collection for corrected errors. That'd be very interesting to see what you find, Anil. But sure, okay, it makes sense. I mean,
yeah. I mean, for us, you know, unfortunately, the BMC-based methods are low fidelity interfaces, so we have to put a lot of thresholds to implement that, which we are also looking at in the future. right? But it's a long shot for now. And
Yeah.
using invent method is a lot more streamlined, straightforward, leveraging on the legacy infrastructure, open source. So that's what we are trying to
Well,
implement.
and are you looking at TLP headers for all of these corrected errors, or is it just a count?
Both header, wherever there's a header available, right? Like mostly uncut, some of the uncut errors. We pulling the headers, parsing the header, and the whole 9 yards, right? To basically, ultimately, the errors information should be precise enough to be able to say what is the source of the fault.
Well, absolutely. I was just wondering what you were like, because I was thinking, just a count is, you do what you can, and that's what you get sometimes with AER. It sure would be nice to get more data.
Yeah, count is not sufficient, right?
Yeah, I'm with 100% with you there.
I will say the header log is another complexity in separating ownership of corrected and uncorrected errors.
Yeah, that's kind
Well,
of
no, not really, Vilas. There is no header log for correctable error that I know of, right? So header logs are only associated with some class
advisory
of
non-fatal again.
Advisory non-fatal. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that we will solve. We have to solve, right? Luckily, we don't really rely on this rerouting today. Okay. Either we mask the errors so that don't care, like UR, for example, or we just keep the severity to 1 and then make it fatal.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, my point is, Leo's looking at it, but like, there's a lot of. I strongly suspect that it's going to involve hardware changes, a lot of firmware changes, and software changes, right? So we'll just have to see where we get to, right? It's a pretty big non-trivial thing to do, spec-wise.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'll do is I'll fix this drawing and add another section to it that just mentions that. And I think that's kind of separate from the AER stuff we're doing, right? And but it sounds good. We'll just, I guess, should I call Meta out as driving it or AMD?
It doesn't matter. Put both of them.
Yeah,
we all are driving, right?
Yeah, we're jointly working on it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
I mean,
sharing
coming
the
from us,
spreadsheet
right?
now. You're sharing the spreadsheet, but
Yeah, I was doing that just so we could look at the ANF errors, but
oh, I thought you were making changes to the.
no, I haven't made any changes. I have this one box and
I see.
AMD
Well,
and Meta.
Yeah, I think good discussion today. Maybe you should open it up for any other wish lists from anyone else, wish list items, because we have just about 2 minutes left today. So I don't think it will be fruitful to go through the list today.
I have a question about the spreadsheet, right? So I have a link that I think Yogesh you sent to the email list before the holidays. Is that still the latest link?
Try to join it. You should pop up on Drew's list. I think this is the one that he's.
I'm looking at it right now, so I'm not sure that you see me, right? I guess.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. Yeah.
I lost track of it. Sorry.
Okay.
I think we left only one in that folder.
Okay.
So I can try.
I see some anonymous lemur and anonymous buffalo and Meta. So I can't tell who's in it right now, but I just pasted the link.
Oh,
which cell you are in, Vilas? Maybe that's the way to find out. You're not seeing yourself.
Like A5, but yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. This link is the same one I use. Okay, thank you. That's fine. Okay.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that I was reviewing, that I had the latest link to review. So
yeah, I think I tried to remove all the redundant ones, but to be honest, I lost track of so many copies we made.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to take up this much time, but I think this is actually I think it was valuable. I better understand where folks are going. I still think this spreadsheet is the key. Knowing what we think of each error is going to be vital. But anyway, so I guess next week we'll continue going through the sheet. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sorry, I think someone was trying to make a comment.
PCI 익스프레스에서 이렇게 많은
Oh, hey, Roy,
Uh,
perhaps you are not muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, no worries. So are we? I need to drop for another call, but are we good to just go over the spreadsheet next week then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good
sounds
by me.
good.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for your participation. I think that working together, we're going to be able to do something pretty cool. But you know, I don't think we'd have the horsepower to do this by ourselves. So I really appreciate you all joining in with us to try to figure this out.
Totally agree. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Talk
Thank
to
you,
y'all
everyone.
later.